Thank you so very much for joining us today for today's webinar, Literacy Strategies and Platforms in the Virtual World, presented by Dr. Jessica Fuda Daddio.
All right, thank you so much for that introduction. I am Dr. Fuda Daddio. I am a professor here at Kaiser University. My background and my passion lives in literacy. So I work with a lot of school districts here, K through 12, but specifically for consult, when I consult with teachers, it's special education, 7th through 12th grade. Literacy is something that kind of embodies every single thing that we do in our lives. This presentation today is to help families to continue the literacy learning at home, just with some ideas of some free resources that you can find. We are going to start out, though, with a little bit of a background as to exactly what literacy is, as I'm playing with my screen here, trying to get my mouse to work. Just a second. 1 second. There we go. So let me make sure. Sorry, my mouse is acting funny. All right, here we go. Fantastic. All right, so the description for today's webinar, let's start with that. This was created to talk about the different reading strategies and virtual platforms to engage children or young adults in the virtual literacy world. We will discuss the basis of literacy and how the different virtual platforms can aid in helping students to stay motivated in continuing their learning outside of the classroom. So just given the current state that we're in, obviously we're doing a lot more things at home or even online. So hopefully this will kind of help to engage them, the students at home. The objectives for today's presentation is to explore different reading strategies, experience different virtual platforms, and also to discuss ways these platforms and strategies can be utilized with your child. So the power of literacy. This is where my passion lies. It's just the idea of what literacy really is and how we can bring it to life for students. So literacy is everywhere. It's everywhere that we look. It's everything that we do. It truly does embody absolutely everything, no matter what content area you're learning about, no matter what job you take on, everything is based in literacy. So it is how we read, it's how we write, it's how we listen, communicate, think, and speak. And when we think about this true nature of literacy and how it embodies everything, and I think we forget a lot of times it's bigger than reading and writing. All right, it is about listening and this idea of being able to hear people. That is part of literacy. Being able to communicate with one another, to create those connections with other people. That's all part of literacy. The way that we think, the critical thought, how we come to a conclusion and comprehend something beyond reading and actually just in real life is literacy. The way, again, that we speak, which goes along with communicate, but how we're able to carry on a sentence or a conversation is part of literacy. And so when you see that, you realize that every single thing that you're doing every single day in your home is literacy. I'm going to start out by telling you, do I think that you need different virtual websites and things like that in order to help your child in literacy? I'm going to say no. However, even with that being said, it's nice to have resources at your fingertips. And that way, you start to feel a little bit more comfortable in maybe having those literacy conversations with your child. So that's how these things are going to help as we go through this presentation today. So another big piece of literacy are the 5 pillars of reading. So we're kind of really veering in on this idea of reading for the moment. Reading consists of phonics, which is the utilization of letters, phonemic awareness, where we start to create sounds from the letters, comprehension, the idea of truly understanding what it is that we're reading. And that again can go with oral comprehension and the idea that we understand what is being said to us. Vocabulary. So as we continue to read and experience life situations, our vocabulary will grow. That vocabulary then will enhance our comprehension. And last but not least is fluency. Now, fluency is one, and what that means is that we are able to phrase in conversation, right? But also when we're reading, to know what a comma means, that we pause there. The idea is that you read the way the author intended. And through that, then it kind of applies to writing. So then, whenever we're writing something, we realize that we might need a comma to get our reader to pause, those types of things. So those big pieces of reading, those 5 pillars, are really important to the success of our students. So I want to say this though. So for fluency, a lot of times teachers and even parents might say, my child's just not fluent as a reader. And I question that comment a lot. And the reason I do is because it depends on how you're defining fluency. Fluency is not rate, it's not how fast you can read. It is about, like I said, reading the way the author intended. So you should be pausing. You should be taking, breaks at those periods, or knowing when to raise your voice if it's an exclamation point. So reading punctuation is important. The other thing, though, that holds back students with fluency is honestly phonics and phonemic awareness, and working with words and understanding the way that words actually do work. That can hold a student back from being a fluent reader. I find this important to share with you because I do think that fluency, we think that's an easy one, right? They don't read fluently. They're not reading in phrases. They're one word at a time. It sometimes isn't fluency is the issue. It's that their brain is trying to understand and read the next word. And that's going to have them pause. The other thing I want to mention too is if you have a child who stutters, this does happen, right, or isn't a fluent oral speaker, then I'm going to be honest with you in saying, how can we have the expectation of a fluent reader in text? So we really need to look at all components of reading in order to really understand where, what a child needs to work on. But one thing I can tell you is practice does help, right? So if we get our students to be reading at home, or to understand what reading really is, we're going to see shifts in their reading abilities, but also more so in their thinking and their ability to speak. And all of this then relates to real life situations, right? So having conversations outside of school and getting their jobs, things like that. So the definition of reading is, this is probably one of the greatest questions I ask students a lot of times, or even teachers, practicing teachers, is what is reading? So I gave you the 5 pillars, but what is reading? And reading is meaning making. That is the answer to that question. And what that means is that comprehension is the basis of everything. What we want is for our students to understand what it is that they're reading, what it is that they're hearing, and be able to interpret that, to then continue to build in that area, and also to be able to have the ability to continue to grow in this literacy world that we live in. So because comprehension is the basis of why we read, right? So think about yourself as a reader. You're probably not reading a novel. Maybe you are, but you read things in order to learn a lot of times as we become adults. So maybe you're, putting together a shelf and you're reading the directions to do that. Maybe you're looking at the pictures. That's still reading. Maybe you are, cooking something in the microwave. You look to see how long you need to put it in there. That's all reading. And by doing that, you're comprehending, because you're able to do what is being asked of you. So comprehension, like I said, is what reading is all about. So comprehension strategies, to comprehend is to make meaning of text. And the idea here is there's different types of comprehension. So it's not so easy just to say, okay, I comprehend, but there's actually a lot going on in this area of comprehension. So it's an intermix of processes, okay, that the brain is doing in order for us to read and comprehend things well. So if you look at this little diagram, this is from Fontes and Pinnell. This is from 2012, but it still centers around the essence of comprehension. And I share this again with parents because it's important for us to see, or even understand, where our students are in their ability to comprehend. So as you can see at the very top, this is thinking within the text, where we solve words, so we're able to start to put our phonics and phonemic awareness in place, where we're solving harder words. We're able to read and know if it's not making sense, to go back and reread. So we're monitoring, correcting. We search for information within the text. So sometimes there's this idea of scanning text and we're looking for certain information to answer a question, possibly. We're able to summarize, and summary is not easy. It's not a retelling. Retelling is kind of more basic, but they're able to actually tell us about a story, in a few words. They're able to tell us what happens or who the main characters are. And like I said, it's deeper than that basic retell. It's actually really trying to tell us what the story was all about. They're able to maintain fluency, and I want you to notice this one because again, I talked about it earlier, but they read at a good rate, which means they're reading the way that the author intended. So they're phrasing and pausing, and there's intonation, right? Intonation just means that we're going up and down as we're reading, just like you would in conversation. They're able to adjust, right? So what that means is if I'm reading a fiction story, I'm going to read that a certain way. I'm going to read it as a story. And then if I'm reading something that's more informational, I'm going to read that in a different type of way. So the way that I'm doing that, I'm able to adjust to meet the needs of whatever type of genre I'm reading. So then we move into thinking beyond the text. Okay. So this is the one that gets a little bit deeper in our thought process. So within the text is kind of more of your basic type of thought whenever you're reading. And I think a lot of the students and parents that I might be talking with right now are in the middle to high school level. So, you're going to see that as you learn new things, you're going to go through that stage of within the text, but we're moving into beyond the text. And think of Bloom's taxonomy, this idea, the basic thought going into a more critical way of thinking. And here in the thinking beyond the text, especially at the high school level, we want them to be able to predict, right? So they have some background information that will help them to kind of predict where the story might go. So think about this. If you're watching a movie is a great way to kind of predict what might happen next with the characters in the movie. Okay, that's still literacy, right? We're still comprehending what's happening in this movie that we're watching. The same idea goes into the reading of text. We're kind of predicting and trying to figure out what's going to happen with the characters, and we become so much more engaged and involved when we do that. And so prediction is a huge piece of our brain. It's just human for us to try to predict what might come next. We do that in our own lives every day. The other thing is to make those connections, right, to the real world. So for reading something, or like I said, a lot of times as you get older, you read things more so for information. That's kind of what we do as adults, is we don't find ourselves having times to read that novel, but we might jump onto the computer or our cell phone and look up an article to read, something in the newspaper. All of those types of things are all parts of literacy. And we make connections to what's being told to us, to what's happening in the real world. Synthesizing is a very in-depth way of thinking, right? So we kind of look at things and we're able to present our understanding of new knowledge that comes from reading something. Like we've learned something new and we're able to share that, to really synthesize how we've learned that. Inferring, this one's kind of a fun one, and actually inferring is this idea that it's not written out, but you can kind of infer, you can kind of guess that maybe this is what the character's thinking, even though it's not right there for you. And something I do with students when it comes to inferring is you don't need a website for this or a free resource. It's the idea of playing charades. Or how do I know if my mom's mad at me right now? We'll look at her face, so that's all inferring. I'm inferring that your voice has, gotten higher and your face looks angry. That tells me that you might be upset. So that's what inference is. And so if we think about literacy beyond this typical understanding of reading a book or writing a paper, but instead just real life situations, we can teach kids our students how to infer just through everyday life. So as you see, we're getting deeper into this idea of comprehension. We move into thinking about the text. Now, about the text is really critical thought. And what this is that we start to analyze the way that an author may have written the text. And here it's like, okay, so why would they bullet point these certain things? And our brain starts to tell us, oh, wait a minute, there's a heading at the top of this paper. That means that might be an important information. Or it tells me what's going to come underneath it. Right. So we start to analyze the way that the author has set something up to help us as readers. And the last one is to be able to critique. And this is to think critically about the text, to really kind of analyze and come up with, well, what's the craft the author's using? And that goes with analysis as well. So it's a very in-depth way of thought. We all do it. It's kind of natural in the human mind to be a little bit more critical or to analyze something. Again, we do this in our everyday lives. And now it's just to kind of teach kids, to our students, what to do in their everyday lives, what they naturally do when they look at social media, for example, right? It's easy to judge and to critique it, but what's really happening, maybe with those people in those pictures, what's, so you start to do that, and it's just a deeper way of thought, but it also can skew you away from truth. So you need to be careful when you get to those upper levels of thoughts. But the idea and why I share all this with you is because this is the basis of reading. This is the basis of literacy. And to remind you that everything that we do in life is literacy. And I share that with you again because, like I said earlier, I don't believe that you need a website in order to help your child to want to read or to feel a power in it. But instead, we show them what literacy looks like in everyday life. And one thing I also want to share is if you have a child who really enjoys video games, or enjoys the apps on their cell phone, or like I said, social media might be a thing that they enjoy, that is all literacy. They're reading during that time. And a lot of times there's manuals that go along with video games that they have to read through to figure out what to do next. On the social media, there's obviously literacy that's there, but they're reading things. And so what we want students to realize is that what reading really is, and it is not about opening a book and trying to read through an entire novel. That is not what reading is. Reading is more than that. And I just think it's important for us all to realize that. And so one of the greatest things that parents can do for their children is to actually openly show how you're reading throughout your day, or how you're using literacy throughout your day. It doesn't mean every time you do that you say, oh, this is reading, but you share with them, like, think about this: road signs outside, right? So that stop sign, that big red sign that says stop, that's reading, right? And then we comprehend, oh, okay, so this says stop, I need to stop here. That's all literacy. And so we start to teach them, especially in the higher grades, how what we're doing relates to real life. So don't get caught up too much in websites or books. But even with all of that being said, I do want to take us there. And I do only because I feel like as parents, you've been put in such an interesting situation where you're not only a parent now, but you are also a teacher. And students in the higher grades, a lot of times, especially in literacy or reading or writing, can kind of put up a roadblock because it's tricky, right? And when things are hard, we don't want to do them. So how can we help them to become more motivated, more excited? Like I said, the greatest way I can tell you that for your older kiddos is to show them how literacy works in the real world. But anyway, with that being said, let's move into some websites. So there is, I did do a lot of research on the Florida Department of Education website. And I'm going to take us in there in just a moment. But in here, there's Just Read Florida. And I found this to be so beautiful because I do feel that reading is the reading, I'm going to say literacy, because literacy embodies all those pieces I told you earlier. But literacy, if you can wrap your mind around that, it is what unlocks everything else, right? To be literate is to unlock everything. So this is where we find great gains, is to be literate in society. So I'm excited about Florida and what they're putting into place with their initiatives here. I'm going to take you into that website in just a moment and show you how they even talk about the 5 pillars of reading, which is absolutely amazing and super exciting to me, somebody whose love and passion is literacy. In the Florida Department of Education, again, I will be taking us here, but there are parent resources for distance learning. I'm going to show you some of those, all free, right at your fingertips. And then they just take 20 for families. So we're going to kind of get into that as well. So let's explore this. I'm going to try to see if I can navigate my technology for you. I'm hopeful that I can. I have everything kind of set up for us. So I think I'm hoping you can all kind of see my screen. If you want to give me a little thumbs up in the chat, that'd be awesome. Or not. Well, I'm going to assume that you can see my screen just perfectly. Oh, here we go. I was looking at the wrong place. Here we go. Chat. Yes. Okay. Fantastic. So here we are. Thank you so much, Barbara. Thank you. All right. So here's that Florida Department of Education website I was telling you about. So you can easily get into this www.fldoe.org, and that brings you here. And here, what I found is the Just Read Florida. And if you did start with me at the beginning of the presentation, I talked to you about those 5 pillars of reading. What's exciting to me here is that this is a statewide reading initiative, right? And they want you to focus on, look at this, I love it. It's research based, it's based on the latest reading research that includes the emphasis on phonemic awareness. So knowing what words are, that words are made of sound, phonics, the link between the sounds and the letters, vocabulary, fluency, and comprehension. So this piece right here gets me super excited. So there's a national reading panel. It was written, gosh, I tell you what, it's pretty dated now, but it hasn't changed. Those 5 pillars of reading still hold true: phonemic awareness, phonics, vocabulary, comprehension, fluency. Those are still the underpins of how we help children to read. So here you can see that they've made this a core value in the state of Florida. So reading has become a core value. And also within that goal, right, they focus on 3 main components: student success, educator quality, and parent support. So what this does, parents, is it puts you back into the driver's seat of your child's education. And that's super exciting, and also extremely intimidating. And I understand that completely. So hopefully by me sharing some of these websites, you're going to start to feel a little bit more empowered to really help your child at home become an even better reader and writer, for that matter, always relating it back to the real world. So let me take us into these distance learning resources. So what I'm doing here is just scrolling down. You can see parent resources here, and then I'm going to hit distance learning resources. Okay, so this should open us up here. Perfect. And you can see here on the side, this left-hand side, the Just Read Florida. And then over here to the right, you see the distance learning resources. And if I go down, I'm just going to go ahead and click on this, since I think most of our students are in 7th through 12th grade. So I'm going to click on promoting literacy from home. Okay. And I love this. So this is something you can print out, put it on top of your refrigerator, put it on your refrigerator. It's just a reminder. So you can see here on the left where it says read, remember to read various texts, right? So various texts you can see here is in its simplest form: books, articles, and poetry. But as I shared earlier, reading is everywhere. It's the stop sign that you see at the end of your street. It's the name of your street. It's even the McDonald's sign, those golden arches. Those are all reading, okay? And we start to help our students understand this connection to real life beyond a novel. We get them to feel empowered themselves. So the other thing they said here is E, which is to explain what you're reading to others. That's a big one. That kind of brings us into that idea of comprehension, right? To be able to explain to others, here's what I just read, or this is what I just learned if I'm putting together something, or if I'm playing a video game. Ask questions about the parts you don't understand. So all of us have gone through moments where we're reading something and don't get it, right? And so we ask questions, we build our background information. If we don't have that, that's not our fault that we don't have that background information to make the connections to understand something. But this is where it's really important, as parents and even as teachers, that we open up the idea of asking questions, and for our children and for our students to feel comfortable to do so. And the last one here they have is determine the meaning of unknown words. That sticks with vocabulary. So this idea here would be just that, we're going to come to tricky words we don't know. What strategies do we have in our background knowledge to help us? And so what you would look for example, might be like little words that that are in those bigger words. Okay. And you can see the explanation over here to the right, where it explains each one of these as well. So if this is something you want to kind of look at again, just download this. Like I said, print it out, put it on your refrigerator, put it somewhere, so you're just always reminded. what this all kind of means. So over here to the left, which I really like, are the apps that are available that you can definitely download. So you can see those here. And you can download those apps either on your computer, you can do it on your iPad, on your cell phone. So these are available. I will not be going into each of those because I have other places to take you and very little time to do that. And then the other piece of reading that is kind of interrelated is this idea of writing, right? And you can learn a lot about your child just from having them write. You know, are they using details? Do I understand what they're saying? Is it in chronological order? Things like that. So you can see that they're giving you ideas here about just trying to get our children to start to write a little bit more, whatever that might look like. So I'm going to go ahead out of this. And it looks like my computer, oh, no, it's not too bad. Okay, fantastic. So that is like, again, the distance learning resources. If I go to promoting literacy from home, 6th through 12th grade, then that's going to take you to that PDF, that little form that I just showed you. So the other thing I want to show you though, let me look over here to the left. Let me see if I was just in here. Here we go. So I went over to the left and I clicked on parent resources. So reading begins at home. Okay, so this kind of walks you through the expectations at home that you can do. And this also kind of talks more so about the younger kiddos. So if you have children in high school and then you also have the younger kiddos, this is a great place to go to kind of see what you need to be working on with your child. I'm going to move into Just Take 20. All right. So one of the initiatives, this is actually true in a lot of states, is that we take 20 minutes of time every night to focus on reading or literacy in general. And research does show that there will be increases in our students' abilities if we do that. So it's always just been a thing that we kind of hold close to us, that we want to do that. But I'm going to share with you to just maybe it's not a share, but it's more so a reminder of what literacy is, right? So we know that literacy is beyond a novel. So we can do this type of Take 20 in more than one way, right? It can be through a lot of different avenues. So Just Take 20 for families. This again tells you what you can do, ways to do that, and the materials that you can also download. And the beautiful thing in the Florida Department of Education website is, look at this here. So we've got 6th through 11th or 8th grade here to the left. I'm hoping that it's highlighting for you. And then the 9th grade through 12th grade on the left as well, that you can click on to help give you some more ideas on ways to implement reading in your homes. So I'm just going to keep going over here to the 9th through 12th and click on things here. And this is showing you the digital literacy. Are you plugged in? Look at this, the list of live cams you might enjoy. So if I wanted to get my child to look at the different things within an aquarium, I can go ahead. This is literacy, everybody. This is so exciting. But I can click on the aquarium webcam and we can go ahead and view the aquarium webcam. And here's the cool part about this is we're starting to build their background. So if they've never been to an aquarium, or well, then again, in Florida, you might have seen alligators, but or the Earth Cam, and to understand the world, like things like that. We're building their background information through doing these different types of webcams that show us real life things. So even if they've never been there, we're building background. This is helping your student or your child to really kind of embody some type of foundation, to start to make those connections as they're reading. So here are some resources that you can use as I go down, where, it kind of shows you the online grammar and spell checks, things like that. Let's say if you're writing something, you can always utilize these types of things to help you. I'm going to give you, just because I'm a doctoral level professor, I am going to tell you that Wikipedia, it's great to go there just to get some quick information. It certainly is not 100% research based, given that it's a Wikipedia. It's kind of like a blog. And other, people can go in and change things around. So just have that in the back of your mind as your children are pulling information and research. So anyways, so this is look at outsmarting the TV and technology, quality over quantity. So in this area, in your Department of Education website, and everything is here right at your fingertips. It's absolutely amazing. So I don't live in Florida personally. I actually work out of Pennsylvania. In education, as you know, in Pennsylvania is huge. It's extremely important. And I will tell you, the navigation through the Florida Department of Education through this website it's incredibly easy to do. It's user friendly, and that is something that I absolutely loved about this website, which is why I'm taking you here. Plus, it's important if you're, living in Florida, that what does the Department of Education expect of my child, and how can I help them to meet those needs. And this is how you can do that. So if you look over here, again, 9th through 12th grade, there's just a ton of different things that you can click on the left-hand side, all of which are free to you. And then I wanted to take you one more place. So I think, let me see if I can't find, just go back real quick. And then we'll jet out of here and we'll go into another website. Go back. So I'm just hitting the back button. This is just taking us back to that main screen of the Florida Department of Education. And let me see here. And I may not be able to find it at this moment. Let me just take another look. I think I went, let me see here. I'm going to go back into the distance learning resources and let me just see if I can't find what I wanted to show you. We might have to come back. Let me go here. Okay, so Florida Center for Reading Research. So again, you saw how I was just kind of clicking through to find different things. Now this is 4th and 5th grade. Is that a bad thing to do if you have a child that's higher than that, meaning in a higher grade level? No. It never hurts to go back and look at the foundational pieces to help them in their area of fluency or comprehension. And so this just gives you some different things that you can use for free to help them. So like even homophone bingo, like, so maybe you have a family night and you play bingo with your child. So lots of different things you can do just to make kind of literacy fun, and reminding them, again, it's not about the reading of a novel. It's about just kind of everything around us, right, is literacy. And when we teach them that, like I said, they'll begin to feel a little bit more empowered and capable to be readers. I know just from my own experiences that when I've worked with children that are 7th through 12th grade, they've come to a place of feeling very defeated when it comes to literacy. And that's typically, they hate it. They hate it. And it is typically because it was hard for them at one point, and they've kind of given up. And so we just need to remind them about the power of literacy within our world. So the next website, anyway, so that was the Florida Department of Education, right at your fingertips, just a ton of free things that you can kind of go through and look at. And you'll want to just kind of do some navigating through there. And I think this presentation will be shared with you so you can, all the websites will be there for you. So this is something I want to show you because it's kind of fun. And this is epic. This is grade 6 and under. Okay, again, but my child's in 11th grade. So is this a bad thing to show them? No, because it's high quality books that you can get your kiddos looking at no matter what level they're at, like whatever, it doesn't matter. Grade level doesn't even mean anything. It really is what is their need. And so let me just show you what this looks like because it's just a lot of fun and very colorful, which is also exciting. And the other thing I'm going to share with you as I'm going back over to the websites is that, and I'm going to move this little thing here, move this down, is, a lot of times for students that are in higher grades, we forget that just reading to them is super beneficial. So if you're somebody who kind of likes to read, you might want to, pick up a book and read it with your child. It sounds simple, but it truthfully does make such an impact when they notice that you're just as much in love with literacy. Then maybe they'll go ahead and pick up those same traits. So, all right. So, Epic, this is, again, a fantastic website. And you can see that I already pulled up this one. This is for parents. And as I scroll down, it kind of tells you what's going on, the parents' reading corner. You can kind of learn a little bit there. And it does kind of break down things like 12 best books for 6-year-olds. And that's like, again, you're going to be like, what? Like, why is she showing me this stuff for 6-year-olds? So, something I've taught teachers as I've been in their classrooms, 7th through 12th grade. And again, this was for special education, but this would be for anybody. You need read alouds. I remember the first time, I remember the last time I heard a read aloud in elementary school, and the first time I got to hear a read aloud again, which was in college. The impact of that read aloud in college was huge. Like, it was huge. It made me realize the power of a book and the power of characters in a story. And the reason the picture books are so beautiful in the sense they show you these pictures and you have to critically think about what's really happening here. I went and taught a high school class, actually. This is really funny. Literacy, it was children's literature, and I was teaching them. And what it came down to, it didn't matter what book I pulled. It could be a book that was meant for kindergarten. But when I read the story to these high school students, um, it was the questions I asked that made them think deeper about what was being, what the story was truly about. So a read aloud has a lot of power, especially like earlier we were talking about that idea of comprehension and the depth of it. So in the epic, you can get in here for free, and you can find these like this book here, which you can't see it right now, but this book right back here is called Scaredy Squirrel. And the conversation you can have with the different types of Scaredy Squirrel books is amazing. And it's really about what Scaredy Squirrel's, he's scared of absolutely everything. But in every book, he overcomes a hurdle. And a lot of times, our students in high school and middle school are going through a lot of things. A lot of things that they may not even talk about. And how do you overcome your fears? How do you overcome bullying? How do you overcome not feeling worthy? I mean, these are the feelings all of us know. We've all been there in high school where we feel a little less than we really are, and these are the types of things that you can bring right to your child and talk about. And they might look at you funny when you pull this read aloud out, but then whenever you actually go through it with them, they'll find the power behind it. And that's what we're doing. We're showing them that literacy is something that has power, a power of thinking, a power of helping us to get through hard times. And that's what this website would do for you. And what I'm showing you here is these books you have right at your fingertips. So you could get your iPad out and go ahead and do this with your child. There's also learning apps, and I mentioned this before already because on the Florida Department of Education, there's apps that you can download to your iPad and to your cell phone. So this is something that you could look at too. You can see how many people have viewed it, 4.8 thousand. And mystery books, if that's something that your kiddo likes, you might want to get them into some of the mystery books. And so there's just a lot of really great things. And I want you to always keep in mind, it's not about what grade level, it's about the questions and conversation that come from the reading. That's the part that is so important over anything else. So anyway, you can load more. It's just packed full of great stuff. So that is Epic. And I'm going to go back to the PowerPoint just quickly here. I'm like running out of time. Wow. Okay. All right. So the next one I'm going to take you to is Starfall. And this again says it's for grades K through 3. Is that true? Well, if you've been listening to me, you're going to know, no, it's not true. It's just a great resource, though, to encourage students to become confident in their reading. Again, the greatest downfall I see, or maybe I don't want to say downfall, let's say roadblock, is that students in the higher grade levels have become somewhat defeated in their abilities to read and write. And we want to bring back that confidence to let them know that they are more than capable, and bring back that love and passion for reading. So now I'm going to take you into the website for this. So Starfall, so you can see I have all of these. Maybe I won't go back to the PowerPoint to save us some time. All right, so Starfall is something that you can do with anything, math, reading, whatever it might be. And, there are things in here that you could print out practice worksheets. And these ones here, maybe you don't print this one out because you can see it's a little bit more of, for younger grades. But let's say that you have a kiddo that really does need some help with their letters and the sounds of the letters. Is there any shame in doing that? Not at all. And when it happens at home, when they're in a comfortable place, like at school, that can be tricky, right? Because they feel judged by their peers. But if you're doing this at home, you can make an amazing impact with these resources right at your fingertips. Print them out, make it worthwhile. It's not elementary. It certainly would be beneficial for any child that might be struggling a little bit with words and letters. So this is again like a great website that you can use to get these different types of worksheets that might help you. It has a whole thing of free. Look at this, free worksheets over here. Again, ignore the grade level. Just see what is there and then notice what you might be able to utilize with your child. ELA is English Language Arts. So this is probably, if you're thinking literacy, this is where I would go. If you're noticing that that your child's having problems with understanding the way that words work, we might go into phonics and sight words. Okay. I'm not going to go back to the PowerPoint, but instead I'm going to go right into the next one. Something that's super important, I want to seriously remind all of you of, is any human being struggles with sitting for a long period of time, especially if they're doing something that's tricky for them. So a way to really embrace literacy in the household is to get moving together. And that sounds so goofy, but it's so true. And so a website you can use, and this is just one example of many, is Go Noodle. So Go Noodle, when you get in here, it is free to start. I think eventually, like down the road, you might need to pay something if you want to keep it, but you're going to notice that there's a ton of different apps that you can get into to get your bodies moving. Okay. So remember, literacy is listening, speaking, thinking, reading, and writing. Okay. So listening and doing activities together, like actual like physical activity together, you're listening, you're doing literacy. So brain breaks are important. They're important for everybody. So jump into Go Noodle. In Go Noodle, you will find a ton of things you can do. And some of these are going to look a little bit elementary, but they have yoga in here. They have this great workout. Well, it's not really a workout, but it's an app for balancing. And even you as a parent might want to get in and do it. But there's like this little, and I don't have it up, but there's this little red dot and you have to go into like tree pose, right? In yoga. And then you just have to watch the red dot and stay balanced. And the red dot goes all over the screen. And it just works on your balance and focus. So Go Noodle is a website that I would tell you, it seems weird it would be in a literacy presentation, but it's just as important as sitting down and going through, any type of book or something like that. The next one, this is really for parents, and this is Scholastic. So Scholastic does a lot of things for parents to help you, especially during these times, since you've taken on another hat, which is this hat of teacher on top of everything else that you do. But in here, there's some great things with activities and printables that you can do for, with your child, but it also does help you. So this is specific to parents. It's going to help give you some ideas for different books that you can read. And as I go down, so you're going to see the different age levels here, but it gets higher as you go down. So you can find different types of books that you might be interested in getting your child. And you can, if you want to buy them, then you could do that through here for the books themselves. But as you just saw in Epic, right, that this one here, you have the books at your fingertips. So, but it's always good to know that there is the Scholastic page that's specific to parents. And there's different things like book clubs, book lists and reading, book lists by ages. So there's just a lot of places you can go just to keep yourself abreast of anything new that might be helpful for your child. Now, something that's really important, I hope that you've caught on to this, is that reading is not just a novel, right? It's not just reading in the simplest form. It is everything. So in order for our kiddos to be literate in the world, it connects to every single subject area: math, science, social studies, all of them. And this is a science website, Generation Genius. You can try it for free. You might love it. I would play the trailer for you, but I'm going to go ahead and let you do that whenever you have a chance to navigate through here. But look at this. They can go through like chemical versus physical changes, bacteria and viruses. Oh my gosh, right? How perfect for today to be looking at those things. Grade levels, again, they don't matter. What matters is the conversation that occurs as they go through these different things that they're doing. And that conversation with you, where there's no judgment, is so impactful. I can't even tell you. But anyway, so yeah, there's a bunch of things here. All of this is literacy, all of it. And with that being said, we're building background knowledge. And that is the connection they need to comprehend at that higher level. All right, the last website I'm going to take you into, and this I thought was absolutely phenomenal. This is 350 plus amazing online learning resources. That's right, parents, 350 plus resources, because we know that you, look at this, parents are trying to keep students on track with their studies and educational growth. We're here to help, and they 100% are. So here you go. You get 350 websites that you can go into that can help you with your child. They're all free. Let me see here. I clicked on one the other day, and I was like, wow, there's just so much here. Let me see. Why don't I go into, and you can see there's math in here, Generation Genius. Hey, let's click. Oh, I think we were just there. Yeah, we were just there. So never mind. We don't need to click on that one. Let's see. So I've taken you through a few. Okay, so we've got Homer. And there is an error, so you're going to find that every now and then. But in here, I've taken you through like a few different websites, starting with the Florida Department of Education website, going into Epic, Starfall, Go Noodle, Get Your Bodies Moving, Scholastic, the Next Generation Science. And then you've got what, 335 more that you can look at right here. So this might be the number one website, maybe the greatest resource that I have available to you through this presentation, is this one right here. So it's weareteachers.com. And you can pretty much do anything here that you want to do. It's absolutely incredible. So that is, I think that's everything. I'm going to go back to our presentation and just give you a few last minute reminders. All right. So we went through Starfall. We did Go Noodle. I also want to share, I'm a huge Peloton fan. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that on here, but I am. And they're doing like 2 months free on their app for Peloton. And you don't have to have a bike or a treadmill to do it. But they also have family actual workouts where you can do cardio together, or maybe you just get your kiddo doing that, with the reminder that even physical fitness, where they have to listen to know what to do or watch to know what to do, is literacy. And that's what we need our students to start to understand as adults, is literacy is everywhere, and yes, you can. And we went through the Scholastic and the Generation Genius. And then this is the like number one, oh my gosh, everything I need is right here. And it can be extremely overwhelming, but weareteachers.com and all of the free online learning resources. And that, I think, wraps up my presentation for everybody today. And I would like to see if you have any questions or comments for me.